Good day. Recently, an American Marine General, Michael Langley of the African Command, came into the consciousness of many Africans when he called for what you will call an overthrow of the government in Burkina Faso. He did not just call for the overthrow of the government in Burkina Faso, he called for the arrest of the president, de facto leader of Burkina Faso, Captain Traore, Ibrahim Traore. Michael Langley, as head of AFRICOM, brought a lot of, how will I put it, bad blood, stirred up a lot of controversy by that presence, that appearance in Congress, where him and some congressmen called for action against the Burkinabe government junta. They also called on action to be taken against the military leaders in Niger Republic and maybe Mali also. Michael Langley, as the head of AFRICOM, is now embattled. In a previous program where with my co-host Wariche on the Africans in America podcast, I had mentioned that Michael Handley had a lot to worry about because he may be losing his job. And it seems like that is just about what is about happening. A report today was released by Reuters that Michael Langley is facing is almost losing his job because the Africa Command, which he heads, is being collapsed into a new, with the European Command of the US Army. And US is weighing the future of military command in Africa, top general says. And he said this at a forum where he was meeting with some African defense heads. And what he was saying is that these defense heads should more or less go and beg on his behalf so that the Africa Command will not be collapsed into the European Command. That means so that he won't lose his job. I can say this very clearly. Nobody will miss Michael Langley in Africa. Africa is a country starved of heroes. Africa has not had heroes, whether real or whether even mythical, whether phantom or real. We've not had one in a long time. The few African heroes have fallen to the machinations of greater powers. They fell to great power politics. Like Patrice Lumumba comes to mind, Gaddafi comes to mind, Kwame Nkrumah comes to mind. Quite a number of African leaders come to mind because they found themselves on the wrong side of geopolitical battles. Ibrahim Traore shot out of nowhere and became the leader of Burkina Faso on the actions of the African Command. Why would I say this? Let me make it clear. The Africa Command was set up by George Bush government in 2007 and started operations in 2008. And one of the first things they did was that they tried to get a base, operational base, if I remember very well, in Nigeria. They weren't welcome in Nigeria and they didn't forget it. At the time they were asking for the base in Nigeria, the president of America then was Barack Obama. And that was saying no to America to have a base in Nigeria was something that cost that the president of Nigeria then, President Goodluck Jonathan, his seat because Obama more or less just abandoned him and threw him to the wolves. And we all know what happened after that. Jonathan was kicked out. He lost an election and he just went away quietly at a time that Nigeria was facing an insurgency by Boko Haram. Why do I say that the Africa Command had a hand in creating Ibrahim Traore? It was a very brutal African campaign against Gaddafi, prompted by Obama, that led to the downfall and destruction of Libya. And this led to a large amount of arms all over the Sahel by militant groups, many of them affiliated to the Islamic State. And Al Qaeda These groups terrorized the Sahel nations, and the great powers who were supposed to look over and protect them, they couldn't do anything about it. France particularly, and even the African Command, when they wanted to be part of that operations, they had an arm's length engagement and really didn't bother. They were more interested in intelligence gathering. They built a drone base in Niger, in Agadez, in Niger Republic, and that was it. There was no other form of support to the local governments there. And it was these local governments, democratic governments that came under there, were assailed by these militants to the extent that they became, how will I put it? They became not trusted by the populace. And when there was a coup against them in Niger, in in Mali, and in Chad, and the local populace welcomed these military generals and captains and all. The actions of the Africa Command has led to so much distortion. Africa is a continent that really needs peace to grow, but we see that the Africa Command, the interest of America in Africa is mainly to have military bases. As at now, there are about 34 military bases. Many are classified, so it could even be much more than that. But we know of the ones in Cameroon, the ones in Chad, the ones in Niger Republic, the ones in Djibouti. Those ones are well known and well established. But there are so many military operations going on that many people don't know. They have oversight over Africa. They have, in fact, at an event in the Moody Center here in Austin recently, I sat next to someone who turned out to be former retired Navy admiral, and he told me in the 1970s he and a group had a submarine off the coast of Lagos for over 6 months, and they were watching what was going on in Nigeria during the 1976 coup. That shocked me. America's intelligence and power around Africa can never be underestimated. They are clear and present. But Africa is a continent needing change, needing growth, needing development. And when the Chinese come and bring development to Africa in little tokenistic things like hospitals, ports, railroads, the Africans welcome them because we get a lesson anytime we get loans from American investors, anytime we try to get loans from the IMF, but the multilateral agencies. And this is what is the problem with Africa. The conditionalities put to Africans when they want to get loans. And besides that, we should understand that the American government does not particularly give loans to Africans. It's usually private investors. But when the multilateral agencies like the World Bank and the IMF, institutions that are led by the G7 countries, want to engage with Africa, there are conditionalities that are usually have to do with liberal democracy philosophy, ideology. For countries that want to do something other than the liberal democracy, their access to loans is almost non-existent. Besides that, there are other conditions. So when a hero perceived or real, like Ibrahim Traore comes on the scene, when he starts to do, they're not really great things. He is not changing structurally the economy of his country from Burkina Faso being the poorest country in the world to becoming among the top 10. He is just doing something totally different where he is empowering to a large extent his populace, the population in his country, through some how will I put it, social programs that benefit the people more. And this is what has made him a hero. Before him, there was Sankara. I bet if Sankara also fell to great power politics when Blaise Compaoré took him out in a coup and killed him, a friend of his. And now the worry is that when Michael Langley called for Traore to be arrested, and he said, look, I'm a general, and for that reason, I can tell Traore is a captain. But Traore is a sovereign. He is the head of a country. And however he has become de jure or de facto, he is the president of Burkina Faso. That is not something anybody attains by happenstance. It's one of those things that for many religious-minded Africans will say power is given by God. And Michael Langley drew the hair of a lot of people in Africa. He did. He drew the hair of, and the Twitter, the internet is still abuzz with that congressional hearing that called for arrest of Ibrahim Traore. Africa desperately in need of heroes, desperately in need of people to change their destiny, came full face with an angry general who feels that a captain dare not challenge the United States of America. Burkina Faso doesn't have host an American base. What he did was he changed the laws regarding gold and says this gold should benefit his people more. Niger Republic hosts an American base in the form of a drone base. And the people in Niger Republic who have had an encounter once with the African command that led to the deaths of some US soldiers. There they said, the US, we don't need your base anymore. And over 1,000 US soldiers were told to leave. So we have a situation where no African will be unhappy with Michael Langley being kicked out of the African command. I do believe that. I said it long ago that he will not survive because this Trump administration is one that is desperate to cut its expenses, especially the military expenses. It is very clear as to where its priorities lie. Africa is not one of them. The unending bombing going on in Somalia has not achieved much. The all the intelligence gathering in the Sahel has not stopped the Tuaregs and those people from continuing to harass the civilian population. Boko Haram and all the brigandage going on in northern Nigeria, in the Sahel countries of Mali, Chad, Niger Republic have not abated. And to this extent, why would you say that you are important to the people? You really aren't. And now, when the people have someone who gives them hope, who gives them a sense of pride, who gives them a sense of sovereignty, comes out of nowhere in history, Michael Langley comes ahead and starts to say, please, let's arrest this guy. He's going against Western investors. He's seizing mines. So Africa is not going to miss Michael Langley. And the collapse of the Africa Command, the withdrawal from Africa cannot come soon enough. Withdrawal of the command and collapsing it into the European Command does not mean American presence in Africa is going away. Africa is still a strategic position for the American military. We saw that now recently with the agreement between the British and the Mauritius over Chagos Island. The importance of Africa, the importance of South Africa, the importance of countries like Djibouti, particularly Djibouti in the Horn of Africa there that overlooks the Middle East. The importance of Sudan and South Sudan to Africa cannot be understated. Some countries have made peace with America. They have their own way of meandering through the American diplomatic maze and military maze. Countries like Senegal, countries like Congo. But even then, Congo continues to pay a big price. They have a big balancing act to do with because of the wealth they own, and that wealth is a burden to them. So at a time like this, when Africa is needing heroes, we need replacements for Kwame Nkrumah, we need replacements for Gaddafi, we need replacements for Mandela, we need a Michael Langley that comes and says America should arrest Captain Ibrahim Traore will not be missed in Africa. That I can say repeatedly. I had already said that he should worry about keeping his job than worry about Ibrahim Traore. I have now been how will I say it? I have now, it hasn't happened yet. It will happen. He's begging the Africans to go and talk to the US embassies in their states and tell them that they want him. I wonder who, he will not see anybody, nobody will miss him. He may be a black man, but he does not have the blood of the the history of Africans. He doesn't have the pain of Africans. He doesn't have the wisdom and skills of African in meandering through realities that can destroy them. He is one of those realities that has called for the destruction of a state that did nothing to him. Nobody will miss Michael Langley. And the sooner that the Africa Command is taken out of Africa and sent back to Europe, where it is needed to deal with the growth and might of the Russians and the conflict in Ukraine, the better it will be for everybody in Africa. Thank you for being part of the video to this point. I will continue to output. I urge you to subscribe, make comments, and share, like. The topics I will discuss will be contemporary. They are contemporary. I ultimately will focus on a group of topics that hold more interest to my larger audience. For now, my topics are out there, but I am an African and I am one who understands the African reality. And for that, I will always get into matters that affect Africa. Thank you very much for being part of this video today. Like, share, and subscribe. So, thank you. You have a good day until next time.